Yeah, I hope you can see my screen.
Yes, sir.
That's good. That's very good. All right. So quickly, I will just go direct into it. And so the first things about this scholarship is that this is an annual scholarship. So it happens every year. So if you know, I think for me, the first time I tried it, I just discovered it like a few months before. It was a few weeks actually before the scholarship application period was closed. So I tried it the first year, so it didn't work. And
Mm.
then I tried it the following year, and then that's when it worked for me. So it's an annual scholarship. And one thing about it is quite competitive, but it only offers scholarship for studying masters in Sweden. And I was just going through the requirements. I can tell you that from the time I applied, which was about 4 or 5 years ago, and now the requirements have changed a great deal. It's because many people know about this scholarship, and now it has become quite competitive in that way. So a few statistics is about just to say that between 2 to 6% of the applicants get it. And that means this 2 to 6% of the applicants is equivalent to 300 scholarships. And these are 300 scholarships that are shared amongst 34 countries, 35 countries, so to say. So that is approximately, you are talking of approximately 9 or 10 scholarships per country if they want to treat each country equally in that way. So out of these 35 countries, about 50% of them are from Africa. I think later on, perhaps there will be a link to be able to show you so that you see the exact countries that are eligible for this particular scholarship. And this one, Daniel has already talked about. So tuition fees, living expenses, travel grant, which basically means it's one time you're given this, so you can use this to travel to Sweden and back after your studies if that is possible. So, and of course, again, you get insurance against illness and accidents. So basically, talking about the eligibility requirements is that you have to be a citizen of the CISGP eligible country. And so there's a list of these countries available on the website. And I hope that I would have maybe probably shown which countries they are. But as I said, almost half of the countries are from Africa, and talk of sub-Saharan Africa with the exception of South Africa. So you'll find that there is plenty of this, and there chances are that most of you will actually find that your country is eligible for this kind of scholarship. So the other requirement is that you have to show proof of work and leadership experience. And part of this is to, later on when I'll be talking about the motivation letter, you will see why in one way they want this kind of documentation, that you have working experience and leadership experience. This scholarship is called the Swedish Institute Scholarship for Global Professionals. So part of what the objective of this scholarship is to create, or rather to produce world leaders, people that will be influencers in society, people that will influence the society, so to say. And so you being able to show proof of work and leadership experience, I think, is one of the requirements that will give you a head start, even in the process of you qualifying for this particular scholarship. So there is a lot of regulations on how you can show proof for your work experience and leadership experience. And just as an example is they would require, for example, 3,000 hours of working experience. So there's a way in which they calculate that. So if you have an 8 to 5 job, for example, that might translate to 8 hours a day. And then you multiply with the number of years to be able to arrive at how many hours that would be. So in a rough estimate, that's about 1.5 to 2 years of work experience. and also they require that perhaps you've not just you can either have worked for one particular company or several companies, maximum 3 companies for that matter. So they really require this as a way of showing that you're coming to this master's program, you have an idea of what really is needed. What is this that you want to change, or how is this master's program going to help you, your organization, or your country for that matter? And then just requirements that also will give you better chances of qualifying. For example, here they say that the study areas, when you are choosing your master program, the study area that you're coming to study in should be aligned with what we call the Sustainable Development Goals. It's a 2030 vision kind of, and they have these Sustainable Development Goals that that needs to be accomplished by 2030. And a quick Google search will be able to help you get that. Let me see if I have that somewhere here on my screen, just to see if yeah, if you can see my screen, you can see there are about 17 of them. So if you are choosing a master's program for this particular scholarship, then choose an area that fits one of these 17 categories. That is poverty alleviation. You're talking about affordable and clean energy. Talk of innovation, infrastructure, gender equality, quality education. So these are some of the areas that really gives you a better chance of qualifying for this kind of scholarship. So it will be really important for you to align your interests, or rather to choose a master's program that really helps you to go deeper in these particular areas. The other thing that will be of benefit to you is you have to also show that you're involved in social networks and some civil society organizations outside of your work, your day-to-day job requirements or assignments. And basically what this means is that you are a person who is able to build networks with other people, work together to mobilize people towards a common good. You know, if you are a person who can bring people together who share common interests, that can be a way in which you influence society. And I think that comes at the top of what they are looking at, because they just want to create global leaders across, across the globe, of people that can really change the world in one of these areas that I mentioned earlier. And so quickly on the required documents, the first one is a motivation letter, and Daniel really did a good job of explaining here what that means. And just to add something little on this one is that your motivation letter, as Daniel said, speaks for you. So you really have to structure your motivation letter. They have a structure which you have to download from the website and answer specific questions. And part of some of the questions they will ask is, what do you think, how do you think this master program will help you change your country, or rather will help you develop your country in such and such a way? So you really have to be aware of why you want to study that particular program, and what are the benefits to your country, probably in terms of the change that will be seen from you studying this particular program. And this is where I would say that at least part of your effort really should go in here. Don't just write a motivation letter and then just send it. Try to reach out to 2, 3, or even 5 people. Have them read your motivation letter. Make some corrections just before you press the button to upload that particular letter, because this usually is one of the ways in which it can give you a good head start in terms of qualifying for this particular scholarship. Your resume, Daniel talked about that. And specifically for this particular scholarship, you need 2 letters of reference. The first letter of reference is from your work, that is your employer, or if you are the one who, from where you're working, your company basically. So that's letter number 1. The second letter should come from the civil society organization where you're involved in. And that basically means that number 1, a reference letter to show proof of work, but also the second one is for you to be able to show how you're involved in building up social networks. And then the last thing is a copy of your passport, because you need to be able to travel for you to be able to come to study in Sweden. So they just want to see, is your passport valid, and given this chance to study, will you be able to travel? And so quickly, I'm just running through because I'm coming to the end. So here is my personal experience. I think one of the things that this scholarship, you can see you get living expenses, money for living expenses. The first point here says that it is stress-free studying. Well, this is a little bit ambiguous. I don't mean that you will not find your studying program to be challenging. No. What I mean in this case is that you don't have to worry about probably working to earn some money to be able to support yourself as you study. So this scholarship covers your living expense so that you can focus on your studying. And that was a very good thing. And I think it was really, really a very good scholarship. And then opportunity to travel around Europe. So because you get the permit to be in Sweden, then you can travel across Europe, because then Sweden has that agreement with other countries within the EU. So you can move to these countries and have an experience outside of your country. So you can visit many European countries, of course, if your study schedule allows, and which I think it allows, because you're not studying even in summer. You have almost 2 months break. You can take a break and explore some of the countries around. But of course, the opportunity to network with people from different parts of the globe, and that's a good thing. That also helps you to reflect about what mindset you have from your country. So you broaden your experiences, and you are able to create friendships that will last for life. I have friendships that now yeah, thank you for muting that out. Very good. So sorry, can you hear me now?
We can. Yes,
okay.
we can.
All right, that's good. So I would like to stop here. And if there are questions for me, that would be good. I will gladly take them.
Yeah. Thank you very much. Well, I can hear myself. Let me see. Mr. James.
Yes.
Yeah, can you please tell us, like, how much were you paid monthly
Yeah.
during your time?
Yeah. So as I said earlier on, that this scholarship has made some changes, but during my time it was 8,000 Swedish crowns, roughly 800 euros a month, and so that was enough for me to get a place to stay, to cater for my food, and a little bit